Welcome to Sports Talk 2319. I am your host, Rashad Phillips. I'm excited today to talk to you guys about conference play and how I do not believe in upsets. And you know I got players for you. Let's go! The player that I'm excited to bring to you guys today is 6'10" freshman Jalen McDaniel out of San Diego State. This kid averages around 8.5 points a game, 5 rebounds, only plays 20 minutes, but I love this kid's upside, his potential. What sold me on Jalen was the Gonzaga game. All you have to do was pop in that tape, and to me, he was the best athlete on the floor. He was the best defensive player on the floor. Now, as a freshman, that says a lot. I can go back to my freshman year, and learning the defensive principles from a team standpoint was one of the most difficult things that I struggled with coming into college. And I always wanted to rely on my speed and my overall talent. But when you look at this kid, Jalen, as a freshman, he already has the college concept down from a team standpoint, midline, denying the right spot, 2 passes away. There was one possession against Gonzaga. He covered up 3 of his teammates' mistakes because he's never in the wrong spot. He's always in the correct position. He's a rim protector. He's a fantastic athlete. So my eyes told me how good he was from the defensive standpoint. But I said, let me dig into the stats just to make sure that my eyes haven't deceived me. Jalen has a 86.9 defensive rating, which means he is more or less likely to be scored on from a one-on-one standpoint. That's the highest on his team. So this kid is tremendous one-on-one from a defensive standpoint. And then when you look at the offensive side of things, he has a true shooting percentage of 65%. So he's very efficient around the basket. He's great between 12 and 15 feet. Again, against that Gonzaga team, they zoned him a little bit, and he was able to find gaps and have a fluent jump shot when he released the ball. He's very efficient in that manner as well. Now, he's playing power forward right now in college from a hybrid standpoint. He can jump, he can leap, he can run. But I believe, given the right amount of time and consistency in his training regimen, this kid can become a prototypical small forward at the next level. Right now, what we're watching is a future All-American, and San Diego State, you guys have a diamond in the rough in Jalen McDaniel. Daquan Bracey out of La Tech, 5'11" point guard, Conference USA. This kid, I really love this kid. Has a strong upper body, great on-ball defender, fantastic lateral speed, keeps guys in front of him, averages around 15 points a game, 5 assists, shoots 48% from the field, 42 from 3, lets you know there he takes and makes good shots, high efficient kid, never rattled. I watched him against Stephen F. Austin, and if you ever watched SFA play, they play with their hair on fire. They force you to make bad decisions, and Daquan handled that pressure tremendously with 19 points and 8 assists. Has those leadership qualities that you want in a point guard. And people, if you have a Ferrari and you want to hand over your keys, Daquan is the kid that will return your Ferrari with no blemishes. He's a joy to watch. Stay tuned for La Tech and watch Daquan Bracey. Toukie Brown out of Georgia Southern, the Sun Belt Conference. This kid averages around 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, scores mentality type of point guard, tough, plays with a huge chip on his shoulder. What I really like about this kid is he plays with confidence and he has a positive bravado about himself. He reminds me a lot of Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors when he was at Villanova. Strong upper body strength, underrated athlete, rugged point guard with a splash of skill. Tune in to the Sun Belt Conference and watch Toukie Brown for yourself. What I love about college basketball is scanning the channels and finding different teams and coaches and players and seeing all the different personalities. And this one particular day, I got a chance to watch the Fresno State Bulldogs. And the kid that stood out to me wasn't a starter, came off the bench. He was like the 7th, 8th, or 9th kid to come off the bench. His name was Nate Grimes, sophomore, 6'8", out of Las Vegas. And this kid is an excellent finisher, great IQ, has a nose for the ball. But what stood out to me with this Nate Grimes player was when I watched him on film against Cal State Monterey. He played 21 minutes, had 10 points, 17 rebounds. And then I watched him another game where he played 20 minutes and he had 10 more rebounds. So I had to dig deeper into this kid's case and see this kid is the highest percentage rebounder on his team without playing a lot of minutes. And I want you guys to know at Fresno that you guys have a kid on the bench that can absolutely play and produce. But more importantly, there's so many kids in college basketball that make the best out of the minutes that they have. And Nate Grimes is the epitome of a kid that takes advantage of his opportunities. Matt Morgan, 6'2" junior out of Cornell. This kid is one of the top scorers in the country right now, averaging just under 24 points a game, 23. Tremendous range on his jump shot, has a fantastic release, moves well without the ball. Reminds me a lot of Lou Williams. Just can score from anywhere on the court. Right now, Lou Williams is playing at an all-star level. This kid has a little bit of that flavor in his game as well. This is not a career year in that regard when it comes to scoring. This kid averaged 18 points a game as a freshman. Matt averaged 18 points as a sophomore. And as a junior, he's one of the top scorers in all of the country. So if you haven't tuned in to the Ivy League to watch the Cornell Big Red, Matt Morgan is your ticket. Conference play continues to play out in competitive fashion. Like I've told you guys before, I do not believe in upsets. When I see so-called big teams take losses in conference play, I don't call that an upset, because when you're in conference play, these teams understand you. They play you twice a year. The coaches give their best effort. The scouting reports are on point. So we've seen a couple so-called big name teams take a couple losses, and I've seen people call them upsets. I don't. They're just regular losses. Let's look at a team like Michigan State. They number one team in the country going in. They took a loss to Ohio State, and then they dropped one to Michigan. They won an overtime close one against Rutgers, and everybody's saying Michigan State got upset. No, they didn't get upset. They played against two teams that was well prepared to win. Now, let me dig deeper into what I mean it's not an upset. When you look at Michigan State, they were number one. That number one next to your name in school, that means something. So you have to understand when you're the number one team in the country, that automatically puts an X on your back. So when you go to these opposing teams, especially their arenas, they're going to give you their best shot. So when Michigan State goes into Ohio State, they're going to treat that as their championship game. So every time you're the number one team and you go into somebody's arena, or when they come into yours, it's going to be their championship game. They're going to put on their best fans. They're going to make the most noise. The guys are going to play harder. The coaches are going to coach harder and scout harder. So again, that's why it's not an upset. Don't worry about Michigan State. This team is well prepared to go into March. What people do not understand about MSU is that they're fantastic on neutral sites. So when it comes to March, they'll be well prepared. Don't worry, they'll bring their following and everything will stay in place. I still believe that Michigan State is one of the best teams in the country, if not the best. I told you guys before that Texas Tech is legit. They really have a legitimate chance to win the Big 12. Obviously, Oklahoma's playing great. Oklahoma beat Texas Tech, and then Texas Tech turns around and beats West Virginia by 1, who was the number 2 team in the country. But West Virginia beat Oklahoma. So the Big 12 is really fantastic to watch right now, and I'm really enjoying Texas Tech as a team. Keenan Evans is fantastic offensively. Zaire Smith might be one of the best athletes, dunkers in all of the country for Texas Tech. But you look at a team like TCU. Let's take TCU, a team that I told you guys before that was one of my sleeper picks. They have a weird way, and I've said this a couple episodes before, they have a weird way of stringing a lot of wins in a row and then stringing a lot of losses in a row. Now, they're 1-4 in the Big 12 play, but think about this. They could easily be 5-0. They have lost 4 of those games on an average of 2.8 points a game. So that's basically 1 possession. So they can easily be 5-0 with that. And out of those 4 losses and out of those 5 games, they have went to overtime 3 of those times. So TCU is still legit and a team that you do not want to play against because they're well prepared and they play really tough basketball all the way to the end. And it's obvious from their metrics. Now, look at the ACC. You got Florida State. You got Virginia Tech. You got Clemson. These 3 teams can beat the Duke Blue Devils on any day. They can dethrone the Duke Blue Devils. I know a lot of people do not want to hear that, but I'm telling you, these 3 teams can dethrone Duke. Duke has the most talented team probably in the country, but just because you have a lot of talent does not mean it's going to equate to W's all the time. Duke has struggled with their defensive side of the ball, and if they don't get that in place, they're playing against a team like a Virginia Tech who's very efficient with the ball, score a lot of points, hit a lot of threes. I haven't even said anything about Virginia, who is the top defensive team in the country from a percentage standpoint. And again, Clemson has been playing great basketball all season. So let's keep our eyes on the ACC because that's going to get very interesting going forward. Now, I told you guys about Hofstra. What about Hofstra? Justin Wright Foreman. I told you guys a few episodes ago about how exciting this kid is to watch. He's a ticket seller. He's the number 2 scorer in all of America, right behind Trae Young. This kid is must-see TV. Tune in to Hofstra because they're exciting to watch and they're right in the thick of things in their conference. So again, conference play for everybody is still exciting and there's no upsets. It's conference time. I had a wonderful time speaking with everybody who tuned in today. Don't get discouraged if your team lose a game or 2 or 3. It's conference time. No such thing as upsets. I hope you tune in to those players I gave you. I'm Rashad Phillips, and this is Sports Talk 2319. Love my expertise info on college basketball players? Want to perfect your own play? Order my training DVD collection now at www.rpskillsunlimited.com.